Welcome to episode 19 of Cooking for Moderately Lazy People. Today's episode will be slightly different and slightly special. The reason it will be slightly different is I'm trying a new concept called the Kitchen Black Book. What the Kitchen Black Book is this notebook. As you can see, it's black. We weren't real creative when we came up with this concept, but this is a notebook that if my roommates or I find a recipe we want to try, we'll put it in here. Once per week, we'll grab one of these and we'll make it. Now, this will be my first time ever trying this recipe, so this could go well or it could go extremely poorly, and we won't know until we get there. I'm trying this concept because my recipe book, while, as you can see, quite large, it is finite and I will run out of ideas, especially making 2 videos per week. So I decided to make the Kitchen Black Book its own separate concept. The second reason this episode is a little bit special is that this will go live on Mother's Day. With my family, typically I don't buy them gifts for Mother's Day because they have so much stuff. They just recently gave a bunch of their stuff to me because they just have too much stuff. So rather than give them stuff for the parental holidays, I tend to cook for them. And since I had this recipe in my black book anyway, and I figured my mom would want to try it, I'm going to make a strawberry tiramisu for my mother for Mother's Day. And since this is the first time I'm going to be using this recipe, I will give a shout out to the original authors of the recipe. It comes from a website called platedcravings.com. I'll put a link in the description so you can follow along if you'd like to. Or if you'd just like to cut out the middleman and print their recipe, that's fine. If you do that though, still give this video a like and subscribe since I led you to them, please. With all that backstory out of the way, let's get started with our strawberry tiramisu. First, we're going to combine half a cup of powdered sugar, 1 cup of mascarpone or mascarpone cheese, I'm not sure which is the correct pronunciation, 1/2 cup heavy whipping cream, and half a teaspoon of vanilla extract into the bowl of a stand mixer with a whisk attachment. We'll mix it on medium-high speed for 60 to 90 seconds until smooth and somewhat thickened. Next, in a medium-sized bowl, we'll combine 1/3 cup of strawberry preserves, 1/4 cup of water, and half a teaspoon of balsamic vinegar. We'll mix these with a fork until combined. We're then going to cut enough strawberries in half to form about 2 cups of the sliced fruit. You may notice that I forgot to wash the strawberries before cutting them. I realized it too, so I washed them after cutting them. That's why later in the video when I'm assembling the dish, the fruit is in a colander. And while I'm slicing the strawberries, let's talk cost. This will not be a particularly cheap dessert, but hopefully it'll be worth it. As usual, cost may vary in your area. The ladyfingers I got online for $10 for a package of 24. 1 pound of strawberries ran around $3, and the cheese cost $5 for a 1-cup container. I used about $1 worth of the strawberry jam and about $2 worth of the heavy whipping cream. The sugar and vanilla extract total up to at most $1. With the cost of the water and balsamic vinegar being basically negligible, that brings the total up to about $22. This certainly isn't cheap given its size, but it is homemade. That should count for something. Once our strawberries are sliced, we're going to open a package of 24 Savoiardi ladyfingers and grab an 8x8 baking dish. We'll place the ladyfingers next to our strawberry jam mixture bowl, and then place our baking dish on the other side of the jam mixture. We'll dip each ladyfinger into the mixture until coated, and then place in a single layer at the bottom of the baking dish. And this is where I discovered that either my 8x8 inch baking dish wasn't actually 8x8, or the ladyfingers I ordered weren't as small as I needed them to be. I had to switch to a larger baking dish. This will affect the aesthetics of the dish, but not the flavor, and I was still able to keep everything together. Once we have a layer of ladyfingers, we'll take our sweet cheese mixture and layer half of that on top of the cookies. We'll then top that with half our sliced strawberries. And here's where I figured out the size of the strawberries was going to be an issue. Turns out the ones I ordered from the grocery store were enormous. The size was going to make it difficult to put the next layer on top. For the sake of aesthetics, this would have gone better with smaller strawberries. Now that we have the bottom half done, we'll repeat the process with the remaining ladyfingers, then the remaining sweet cheese mixture, then the remaining strawberries. You can actually top this with blueberries or other berries for decorative purposes. After our dessert is assembled, we'll cover the dish in plastic wrap and refrigerate overnight for at least 8 hours. And here we have our completed strawberry tiramisu. How does this first crack at it rank? For difficulty, I'm going to say this is a 2 out of 10. This was just straight up easy. The toughest part was layering the second tier of cookies on top of those gigantic strawberries. For expense, I'm going to give this about a 4 out of 10. It's possibly the most expensive thing I've ever made on this channel. I mean, it could be worse. It could require ingredients from some remote corner of the world that only grows for 2 months a year, or like edible gold foil or something ridiculous. But Other than that, it is fairly expensive for its size. For flavor, I'm going to give it 7.5 out of 10. I could rate it higher maybe with fresher berries. That's not a comment on the recipe, just my implementation thereof, and where I got my fruit from. So how did my panel rank it? My two roommates gave it a 9 out of 10 and a 7 out of 10. My mother rated her Mother's Day gift 9.5 out of 10, although there may be a bit of a grain of salt here due to it being a homemade dessert for Mother's Day, and, me being her son and all. With my 7.5 out of 10, that makes the average score 8.25 out of 10. Overall, we'll call this one a success. It wasn't as pretty as it could have been, but it was delicious and worth the effort. If you like this video, or have opinions on the kitchen black book concept in general, or you've got a recipe you want to throw my way and see me take a first shot at, please feel free to comment on, like, share the video, or subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to ring the notification bell for more weekly content. If you like the Cooking for Moderately Lazy People series, check out the playlist that contains all of the videos, including the YouTube shorts. As always, thanks for watching, and bon appetit!